Welcome back to another episode of the 7th grade Mustache. Today we are talking about happiness and the perception of true happiness and how you may work towards gaining that understanding of true happiness. Throughout my life, my entire life, not just my adult life, I believe myself to be happy, and I would surround myself or work toward things to put in front of myself that would make me happy. And as a younger person, it was material things, but that was not the limits of my happidness.
But you learn that happiness is obtainable. It's something that you have to work towards. It's not just given to you. Can't nobody give you happiness.
No.
I think that's the problem with drugs. That's a problem with a lot of different things. That instant gratification. We're under the impression that feeling good is being happy, and that's not the case. We talk about this in all our podcasts, where people get emotion and feelings mixed up with actual well-being. I feel happy. I just had sex. That's a drug. I just smoked some weed. I'm feeling happy, but I live in a slum. I'm not healthy, all this different stuff. So, no, you need to know your actual physical, your well-being is part of your happiness. You being safe, you not having to worry about this or those, and so those are the issues. When they said life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, first things first, they changed that. It was the pursuit of property. Now you do realize the property was us, but that's another conversation for another day. But when they stuck that pursuit of happiness, what that taught you is that you must pursue happiness, and happiness is obtainable. You have to find it and go get it. It's just not innate. It's not just given to you. And so many of us are. I was raised. First things first. Let me clear this up. I had a fucking fantastic childhood. Had a great childhood.
Church.
Yeah. So, nowadays that's the opposite of what you hear. I'll give an example. When I found out I didn't have a good childhood, well, first I still love my childhood; it was great. But when I found out compared to other people what I had, I remember it was junior year in high school. We were in honors English, and we were forced to write some shit. Write one of these stories, and these people they get up there and wrote their story. But then there was a girl, I can't remember her name, but white girl, redhead, not a bad looking chick, kind of chubby. So she gets up there, she starts talking about how bad her life was. And she goes, my dad was an alcoholic. He left my mom. He this, he that. And she used to start crying. And I'm like, so I said, what are you crying about? And everybody, her dad is an alcoholic. I'm like, what are you crying about? And so I'm like, so is mine. Well, he left her mom. I'm like, my dad left. We moved around the corner. I got a sister around the corner. So I'm sitting here not realizing that we had the exact same life experiences, but they were bad to her. But to me, they were just life.
And that's perception. That's exactly what we're getting at here.
First things first, perception is reality. That's you learn that when you're in philosophy class in college, you learn that shit. Mm-hmm. Perception is reality. But what I'm simply, it's not just perception. It's a truth to it. The truth is my father's an alcoholic. No, you can't use that against me. When you control your emotions and when you control the narrative within yourself, that's the first thing you understand. So my father's an alcoholic. He left my mother. I got two sisters. My older sister was born in California. My dad lost her in the system. She got pregnant at 15. He does not know where she is. My parents were married at that time. I actually have two pictures of her. I thought it was my cousin. I didn't realize this was a picture of my older sister. I've never seen, don't even know her name. My younger sister actually went to high school with me. We were in high school at the same time. She's 2 years younger than me. So, that's a terrible story. No, it's not. My mother provided a fantastic life for me. And also my mother raised me to be a man. And one of the things of being a man is that you control your happiness. You control the degrees of happiness. Now, sometimes you have to recognize that I'm limited in this situation. So I need to find, okay, now that I get where that can be bad. We have people in slavery like, hey, this ain't no slavery. I'm cool. No, what it is they're coping with that situation. But at the exact same time, they're looking for an opportunity to kill somebody, get the fuck out of there, do what they got to do. And that's how I was raised. I was raised that
you looking for an opportunity to kill a motherfucker and get that fuck up out of there.
If I got to. You're laughing, but you know me. And that's the difference between us and all these other people walking around is that if somebody's got to die, it won't be me. But I'm not talking about some mass shooting shit. I'm saying that if you were to threaten my family, if you were to threaten my mother, threaten my kids, my wife, hell, somebody tried to kick my dog one time. He ain't gonna do that no more. You know what I'm saying? These are the things that matter to me, and they're my happiness, but also they're part of my struggle. You know, I got several kids, no biological children I take care of. I can't stand one of their moms, but I'm always there for them. At one point, she controlled my happiness, and once I realized that she didn't have my best interest at heart.
How did she control your happiness?
I gave it to her. When you relinquish your power, that's one of the things you're doing. Sometimes, first things first, you know, as black men, sometimes we deal with a lot of self-loathing. And the way we deal with it is not always healthy.
That's programming, though.
Some of that is programming. Some of that is also the fact that you don't understand your own power. And one thing you do when you're offended by power or you're scared by power or you're guilty for having power is you relinquish it. Like, for a while, I always dated women that had problems. I shouldn't say that. Every other woman I dated had...
Yes, you did.
Your mother. What I'm saying is every other woman I dated had problems. You know, I would have one that was super great, everything, no problems. Due to I have severe ADHD, and that's one of the things that you must recognize when you have an affliction. I have severe ADHD. So when I had a woman that didn't give me problems, I had no mental stimulus. Sex wasn't enough. Money wasn't enough. I'm used to drama. I'm used to fighting. And so you would find somebody who had a lot of problems. There's two things that happens when you find a woman or a mate or whatever you want to call it with problems. One, it means you don't have to work on your own problems. When you're working on somebody else's problems, what you're essentially saying is that I'm not selfish. I'm caring more about your problems. But the truth is, I don't have to deal with mine if I'm dealing with yours.
Are you familiar with the concept of epigenetic imprinting?
No. I've heard the term. Break it down to me. Sorry.
So, for example, a simple example would be the adult that grows up an adrenaline junkie. And that person was programmed in the womb because of the mother was, her adrenaline was stimulated a lot
by certain things,
by drama, arguments, life, stress, and that imprints onto the embryo or the growing child in her body.
Okay, there's a couple. It's kind of complicated because you do realize that many Jews supposedly have PTSD from their parents, from their grandparents having been in the Holocaust, and I'm like, I don't know. If you were pregnant with them, I can deal it, but some of this stuff. The issue with that is, first things first, that is very true. Women's power is very underestimated, especially when it comes to children in the womb. On the same token, you know, my mom read to me when I was inside her, and both parents should be reading to the kid, talking. The kid should recognize your voice when they're born. And that's one of the things is that if she's going through something very physically strenuous, it will affect the child, good or bad. Birthmarks. One of the old heads I was reading about, he's like, women have the ability to control a birthmark. He's saying that if a woman is stressed in a certain way, or she gets mad at it will dictate the place on the body where the birthmark is.
Yeah.
And the old dude broke it down. And I'm like, that sounds preposterous. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
I got mine on my leg. So, what you're saying is, yes, that does exist.
But let's come back to happiness, though.
Hold it. Well, this is when you were asking me about how she controlled my happiness. Is I relinquished my power to her intentionally because I thought that being submissive was the way to show her that, hey, I'm not like everybody else. I'm special. I'm cooperating, yes, and which is fine. But
okay, I'm playing the game now. Yeah. Can we fuck now, please?
Relationship red. And so you would do that in the hopes that somebody. But the problem is when the other person you're doing it to or giving it to is selfish, then you're going to hurt yourself. You must recognize that somebody needs to love you the same way you love them, and loving somebody is not just doing anything for them. Is them not asking you to do anything for them. They're not asking you to put yourself in jeopardy or relinquish this or give this up or kill your future. You know, you're having a real conversation about what's next for you both simultaneously.
Yeah.
And what I did was I thought that this goes back to some shit. I thought that being a man was bad. You know, growing up, my dad wasn't around.
Masculinity was bad?
I don't know. I can't tell the difference. I'm just talking from that my mentality back then. Look, you always hear about I'm black, so I talk about black women a lot. You don't hear this many from white women, but black women are always like, ain't no good men out there. But if you don't know how to deal with a man or you don't know how to recognize a man, you know, having a penis and being male and being man aren't the same thing. Mm-hmm. And what happened to me was that I knew as I was out there womanizing, I was out there going to the strip club, I was kicking it, I was traveling, I had no children. The only responsibility I had was my dogs. You know, literally, that's all I cared about was my mom and my dogs and my homies, of course. But I'm talking about I had an American Bulldog and a pit, and they meant so much to me. And they meant so much to me. And with that being the case, that I thought that, you know what, based on what I saw on television, and another thing, my mom never badmouthed my dad. She said,
but based on what you saw on television, you were a man.
I was negative. That's what I'm referring to. I'm not saying the man. I'm negative. Having multiple women, doing this, reading that, going there, traveling, strip clubs, buying cars, proper. You know, in the black community, we shun capitalism, we shun masculinity, we shun all these different things. And if you do something that even you deem similar to that, you deem yourself bad. So I said that relationship Renix, I'll let her make the decisions, and I bet she'll be happy. And that's the thing. I fell in love with somebody who's an unhappy person. So instead of her recognizing that I was submitting and I was really caring about her, we fucked around we were together for a total of 7 months, but we stayed together for 2 years.
But did her unhappiness become your unhappiness?
Her unhappiness became my goal to fix, because I didn't want to fix myself. I wanted to fix her. And when I tried to fix her, I damaged myself very badly. You know, I crippled myself. And I'm first things first. Depression is real. Don't ever think it's not. But I'm not saying every single time you're depressed, it's clinical depression. So when I recognized, my mom said, "Hey, you got clinical depression." Like, no, I don't. And then you sit there and recognize, like, damn, hygiene ain't the same. I don't find joy in doing this. Even it was so bad that when I prayed to my maker, when I prayed to Elohim, when I prayed to God, all I could hear was background noise. You ever be on the? Have you ever been on the phone and the person's talking and you can barely hear them, even though they're talking loudly, but you hear the kids playing, you hear the birds chirping, you hear the TV in the other room.
You can't be still.
No, not that. I can't focus on what he's trying to say to me because.
But hold on, let me help you out. So what you're talking about is true stillness. Wait. The thing is
meditation. I know what you said.
No. The thing is, because see, praying is talking to God. Meditation is listening to God. And we're taught to pray all the time. We're not taught to be still.
But you got to understand that I've been doing meditation my whole life, just didn't have a word for it.
Right.
So you would sit here and you would get a response. You would get that divine understanding. Like, oh, okay, this is how I approach a problem. Like when I learned a long time ago not to pray for physical things. I pray for insight. Like, God, give me insight. I'm in a situation. I'm not the first one to walk the earth going through this. Elohim explained to me, shed some light on this. And I remember one time I had a car broke down and I said that and it came to me. This is before YouTube. So that's what I'm talking about. So when I was dealing with this person, she wasn't happy with herself. And she was very indecisive. And people who are indecisive, they don't want to make a bad decision, but they tend to make bad.
Worst in a relationship.
Because they make bad decisions all the time. And that was what was going on. And so I forgot what it was like to be happy. The only thing that brought me joy was actually her daughter, which became my daughter, of course. And a few things. And when I focused and realized, okay, this is what makes me happy. I eliminated her from the situation. I was there for the daughter, who's still my daughter. And I got some help, got on some medication, some Lexapro, left that alone. I did that for a year, left that alone, got my life straight, created some goals, and started doing the things that I was always good at, and recognized that my happiness was my responsibility. Mm-hmm. Now, in no way, shape, or form, she needed help, and I tried to help her, and she wasn't willing to take it. That's what the deal was. But if she had taken it, I still would have probably stayed that submissive person. That was not my natural personality. Mm-mm. That was not my identity.
You would rebel at some point.
Yeah, and like I said, what I was talking about earlier is that we're taught by this is the Oprah stage. You know, before Oprah, being a black man was cool. You know, if you're black, if you're a cheating man, then a woman say, hey, I don't mess with him. He's a cheater. But before Oprah, before Ricky Lake, before the talk shows, being a black man, whether you were a cheater or not a cheater, was normal. Like whatever you were into, you could do. So you start watching these talk shows and Cut That Zero, Get With This Hero, and Oprah doing this and Oprah doing that, and you became like, damn, being a man is negative now. Because my mom didn't badmouth my father. She just said, hey, nigga ain't shit. you're my son. I'm going to make a man out of you. You know, she made those decisions. She showed me, and I learned on my own at my 8th birthday. That was 84 was like the last time I saw my dad. I seen my dad twice since 1984. Yeah, it was my birthday. He showed up with a white woman at my birthday. Yeah, brought me a big wheel, and I'm like way too big for a big wheel. You know what I'm saying? So, and yeah, I can't make this shit up, man. But with that being the case, you know, I knew I didn't want to be like that, but I never had a problem being a man until we get to like 13, 14, and you start seeing these talk shows, and I'm like, oh wow. When then at the same time, the thing that hit for me was hip hop. When rap started hitting, and I don't just mean, you know, just the I mean the KRS-One stuff. I mean the Paris stuff. Hip-hop. I mean Poor Righteous Teachers.
Yeah, Public Enemy.
Paris. You know, so when that made me find out about black people, so I'm in Upward Bound, and then one of the people who taught me next was he was Polish. His name was Kastrick. It was Mr. Kastrick, and he's like, he shows me this book, The History of the World, and he's like, look, the Hebrews were black. And again, I don't understand. He's like, no.
It's the Polish guy saying that.
Polish guy, yeah. And so he's explaining to me, like, he's like, look, he said, I was at California, Berkeley during the time of the Black Panthers. Mm-hmm. I was at Berkeley, and he says, do you know what they have at Berkeley in the library? I'm like, books? No, they have Christopher Columbus's journal. And in that journal, he says that when he gets lost, that these Moors gave him directions to the mainland. This isn't his, and I'm like, he said, yes, there were black people already in America long before, and this, boom. So then a couple of years later, that's when we started having Black history, and that's when we got They Came Before Columbus, which is Ivan Van Sertima. But and so I'm like, well, so I kind of asked him, like, why are you telling me this? He said, look, I grew up Polish in Omaha. All we know about Polish people is during the war they retreated and they gave up, and so
the Jews were captured.
Yeah, and he said, and same thing about the French. You know, a lot of people, there's French jokes. He said, so you start hearing these jokes about yourself, and you believe them. How you get a one-armed Polish man out of a tree? You wave at him. And so you get these jokes, joke after joke. And so I started reading about Polish people, and I found out one of my favorite composers, Tchaikovsky, is Polish. I said, no. He said, yeah, it tells you he's German, he's French, he's from these Alps. He's Polish. And when you read, you find out he's Polish. And you find out these different people are Polish and they did great things. You're able to do great things. He said, as a black child who's going to be a black man, you need to know what your people did and what your people are. And when you get that, then you can become happy with yourself. And that was so important to me. And so I listened to all kinds of rap music. Don't get me wrong. All kinds of hip hop. But the kind of hip hop we grew up on, can't even exist now. You know, we're lucky that we got Dead Prez and that we got David Banner saying anything, because the industry won't let you. And so, you know, art is important. Art is very important. And art helps you be happy too. I like to write. I like to create. You know, we're descended
the expression.
We're descended from the creator. So creating, when you create something, when you write something, when you pull something from the firmament and make it tangible, that right there, that's happiness. Your ability to create.
You know, my idea of happiness in different relationships over time changed.
Yeah, definitely.
And
that was my point. Yes.
The thing is, like, you know, when you're in high school, you know, and you going after girls, chasing girls, you know.
I was like titties.
Yeah.
You put titties on anything.
And well, I'm an ass, man. So the thing is that, like, you know, I was always like, you know, going after a certain type of, like, you know, woman, right? Or girl at that time. And the things that made me happy would change from year to year as I grew and I matured. And some of those things remain the same. And I started to really think about, like, what are those things that remain the same? I got to say those things that made me happy were a girl that had a good sense of humor, which means that she was happy, or she could laugh at things or laugh at herself, right? And so
you had a couple constants. That was a constant.
That's a constant.
Yeah.
You know, like that good sense of humor. That was always like a big thing for me. I could never date a chick that was like too serious. Like that was just, because it's just, you know, a downer. Like you don't want to be around that negative energy. It just drowns you and just like sucks all the air out of the room. And nothing grows in that environment. It's a vacuum. And so that is one constant that remained over time. looks and all that stuff, that goes without saying. Then you start to want, chicks that are like, that have a more progressive.
Yeah.
They want to do things in life. They want to go places. They're outgoing.
Check this out. Okay. We're talking about my ex again. So when I first got with her, when I first met her, I wasn't even interested. It was 2 years before I fell for her. Mm-hmm. And some of the things that I liked about her was she was very pretty. She had a degree in Black Studies.
Mm-hmm. That stimulated your mind.
Yeah. And she was making it on her own with very little support. And I was just like,
so you respected her just for that right there.
And when we first got together, she was very happy. But there's something that you got to understand about women of color. Many women of color suffer from PTSD, traumatic stuff. And I know what caused hers. I know what events caused hers. And even my wife today, something that me and you talk about is that how people are raised. One of the things that your dad told us was like, talk about pedigree, different pedigrees. And he's not saying that you're better than somebody. He's saying that you need to understand where they come from. One of the things I talk about is like, we were raised on love. Many people were raised on survival. People that are raised on survival have a completely different way of dealing with things. Yes. And my ex, who in the beginning, she treated me great. But after a month and a half, shit changed. And so when it changed, she's probably been suffering from depression since high school. Yeah. Off and on. Same thing with my wife. But the difference between her and my wife was willing to work on it and fix it. And whether she did it for me or for herself, she was willing to do it. And that's something that people don't understand is that they don't know how to be happy. When you get depressed, it's a chemical imbalance, but you forget how to be happy. And that's why you have so much rampant drug use. That's why you have so much rampant abuse to people.
And that's why I think like the ones with like all the fucking baggage were, I'm not going to say it was a downer, but it was like a lot of fucking work. Okay, but hold on. And I saw there was a lot of fucking work, and I'm like, that's cool. I'm going to roll with you.
I'm grown. I handle it.
Yeah, I can handle it. You know what I'm saying? But I see this is not the ideal for me. I'm speaking only for myself.
Yeah. I dig
it. The thing is that like this is not the ideal because I need a bitch that's not a fucking psycho. Okay, but hold it. So what I'm saying is that like I wouldn't leave these broads. You know what I'm saying? That was fucked up. You know what I'm saying? But like I knew that okay, like there was chicks that I date and like everything was cool, but I'd be like, this is not the mother of my children. You know what I'm saying? Like you know. Nah, this is we just.
I had two of those, school teacher and another one. No
name. But the thing is, your DNA is like saying like, nah, motherfucker, like this ain't the one. Keeping it on happiness. My thing is that like, I always had this ideal of like not in a relationship. Like for me,
your happiness,
my golden zenith of happiness. Yeah. In a relationship, it was something real simple. It's not complex. No. If you met this criteria, happiness would flourish.
But we're talking about happiness. But also, here's the biggest issue: people don't even discuss sex, and not that I'm graphic. I can tell dirty jokes. I'm funny. I'm this. But what people don't do is have realistic expectations when it comes to sex.
Okay.
But hold it.
Yes.
But by discussing them real talk without being embarrassed or being ashamed, that's what makes it difficult.
Correct. We're talking about a healthy relationship with a healthy sex life.
They're the same thing. They're one and the same.
Yes, that's my point. That's why I'm interjecting, because people need to understand that we are physical creatures, but we're also a trifold being, mind, body, and spirit. And when you are pleasing the body, the mind will relax.
But see,
hold on. The internal dialogue will slow down, and there will be less chatter. Because what happens is you have meridians inside your body. And these are highways of energy that flow through you, that carry blood and minerals. These
information
are overloaded with energy when you're having sex with a person. And it balances yin yang. That man balances that woman out and vice versa. We do this when we have sex and people have no idea about this. And it's happening. And it's part of the reason why you feel so good afterwards. It's not just a release. You're inside the magnetic field of your opposite.
But on the same time,
balancing you out.
But hold it. Listen to what you just said. That's an exchange. So if you're having sex with somebody who's depressed, you're taking on their depression, and there's
unless
listen.
Hold on.
But they're also.
I got. I've dealt with that. The thing is, Unless your vibration is stable enough and you can bring them up, which you can.
I get
that's
that.
not. I'm saving somebody. I'm giving you some Reiki. But you gonna feel great.
But you got to watch that. You watch what you give away because their release is there. All that's there. But what I'm saying is, nobody wants to have that conversation. Nobody wants to be honest about the shit. That's the problem. Look, I see a bitch. I'm gonna pull that bitch here and hit it from the back. You know what I'm saying? You say, but hold it, listen.
On a base level.
No, hold it. But you can say it to your homeboys because you're comfortable, but you can't say it to the woman you're gonna do it to.
Right.
That's the problem. When you,
no, I said that too.
No. I'm not referring to you. I'm not referring. First thing first, you know me. I don't have that filter. I part of my happiness.
That's how I get to third base.
Yes, part of my happiness, part of my well-being was getting rid of the filter. Mm-hmm. Like I have a filter at work, but I don't have a filter at home. You know why?
Don't you hijack the stagecoach, motherfucker. Put a pin in that.
Yeah.
On the filter.
Yeah.
Keep the pin there. Let's stay on this uncomfortable conversation that people won't talk about, which is about happiness. Because this dialogue is so important, but it's part of the problem with men and women nowadays. They're not clear enough.
First things first. Look, men and women. I get there's gay people out there. So when we say shit, I hope I don't offend nobody. But listen, but hear me out. But hear me out. What I'm saying is that people can't be honest because they fear what's going to happen next. Mm-hmm. They fear, okay, women ask, why do men lie so much? Because if I told you the truth, you wouldn't have sex with me. Well, I learned something a long time ago. I tell women the truth. They still have sex with me. Mm-hmm. You ain't, because
they already made up their mind that they want to give it to you.
I understand how women's minds work. They've already made up their mind to give it to me.
Yes.
So I can tell them anything.
And they're still going to give it to you.
And you could ask last 20 women I had sex with, they'll tell you, like, Ren ain't lied to me about shit. And that's a point. That's important for me to be happy. Being honest is part of my happiness. Now, some people, my father is happy being a liar. My daddy lie his ass off. And I'm going to give you an example. So one time I'm talking to my father. He came to visit. And I asked him, I said, look, why'd you fuck around with my mama? You know, I said,
straight up.
Yeah, I'm like, she ain't the best looking chick. He's like, oh, nigga, I was just fucking. I wasn't trying to have no kid. I'm like, okay. That was honesty. But then I asked him something else. He said, hey, man, I was afraid that your mother and your grandmother were going to take you away from me. And this dude, the way my father was speaking, I knew he had counseling. And I told you this before. The reason I don't believe in counseling, because the person who's trying to get help lies is not truly fixing anything. So my father's telling me, like, oh, your grandmother, your mom and your grandmother came and got you and took you to New York and left me here in the house and this, and this. And I said, so you didn't do anything wrong? No. I said, well, you don't remember dropping me and crushing my ankle? And I showed him, because I still got the scar on my ankle. My dad broke my ankle. He rode over it with a bike. I was 2 years old, and he had crushed my ankle, literally broke my ankle. I said, you don't remember that? And he got quiet. So I said, okay, fuck you, nigga. So I went to work. I get back from work, and because he was staying at my house, and I get back from work, and I was doing something. He's like, I forgot all about that, son. So when he was forced to be honest, that's when he was happy, because he's happy lying. When my sister asked my father,
that's crazy. That's his happiness.
That's his happiness. I understand it.
You took his ease away. You took his comfort away by making him tell the truth.
By forcing him to acknowledge it. When my sister asked him, where had you been my whole life? Oh, I've been to prison. I went to prison for killing somebody. So my sister called me he said, was our father in prison for killing somebody? I said, Greg was in prison for killing. His brother went to prison for killing somebody. What happened was, this is back in the day, they couldn't find a gun, so the nigga was in prison for a year and gets out. The whole story he gave you was his brother's life story. He ain't been to prison. Now, he may have been in prison under somebody else's name because he ain't paid child support. And my daddy, our father moved to Canada, so he didn't have to pay child support and worked out of Canada. That's why he's in Minnesota now, because it was close. But I was like, okay. So I explained to her, like, look, our father's happiest when he's lying, because he does have some painful stuff in his past. His mother did not want him. He doesn't know who his actual father is. He knows who he thinks it is. You got to understand, there's a lot more pain there. A lot of stuff happened to him. But on the same token, he gave us pain by not being who he needed to be. So you don't let him off the hook with that. But you got to understand what your natural state is. What's your happiness? When you understand your natural state, and if your natural state is a sexual creature, a sexual being, then you need to recognize that and express that to your partner properly. Now, the problem is, another thing that nobody wants to talk about, as a black man, we tend to put our women on a pedestal. So I got some fucked up desires. I don't want to do them desires with my wife. You tend to want to do that shit with some other bitch because I'm saying it. I'm just saying what nobody else wants to say. Look, the things I like to do, man, that ain't fair for her. Nobody should have to deal with that. Right. That's a burden to put on somebody. Right. So a lot of times, many times, that men do elevate their mate to this level.
Unless she's into that.
She's into it, cool. Yeah. But that probably would turn me off a little bit too. Yeah. Like, you a nasty motherfucker. Yeah.
Wipe it off.
I don't want to shake your hand. Hey, can I have some of your water? There, you could have the whole bottle. No joke. I don't want that back.
I'm not drinking out of that.
And that is the problem. We keep talking about happiness in relationships. That's because most of us have relationships, and that two half-ass people can't make a whole relationship. And until you understand that, until you are a whole person, you have nothing to offer anybody else. You have nothing to offer. You need a whole person. That way, y'all have common goals. You can work on shit. You can be happy. Like, I could be in the room happy, or I could be in the room with her happy. I can be at work happy. You don't have to keep eyes on them and shit like that. And what nobody wants to recognize is that when you find what makes you happy, not just your relationship, but whether it's your hobby, whether it's your spirituality. And that's the thing, like we talk about all the time. We're spiritual people. We are 95% spirit and 10% physical. So when you let that 10% rule your life, you ruin your life. And when you sit there and I gotta fuck everybody, I gotta smoke every joint, I gotta drink every beer, I gotta do all this physical.
Let me speak to that right away, because the thing is, like at the beginning of this conversation, you mentioned sex and you mentioned drugs as a conduit for happiness, and they are in some ways, but on a physical and chemical level.
Yeah, they're a stopgap. They're a Band-Aid.
But the thing is that, like I like cannabis, I like ganja, but only as a means of celebrating something. For example, like it's not a crutch for me. I don't need it to take the edge off when I come home from work. I'm speaking for myself.
Yeah. Do you feel weed is a drug?
No, I don't.
Exactly. So it's not your crutch.
No. Yeah. No, but this is what I want to say. Like, there have been events in my life that were, a really big struggle. And when I made it through the struggle, I went and I rolled a blunt, or I rolled a spliff, or I packed my bowl, and I achieved. And it wasn't that it made me happy. It was the physical relaxation coupled with the sense of accomplishment.
It was a celebration of your happiness.
Correct. That solidified my
But you
happiness.
also said that you put that at the end of your journey, not during your journey. Too many people use weed during the journey as a coping mechanism. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, you don't always recognize that you're not doing well. Mm-hmm. It makes you complacent. It makes you okay with mediocrity. Mm-hmm. If you're smoking a joint and you're broke and I get when I got off work, I'm tired, I'm trying to relax. Okay. But if you're doing shitty in life, why the fuck you worry about smoking weed?
This is the thing, man. This is the thing. You got motherfuckers that will spend money they really can't afford to spend on weed.
Yes.
I'm like, listen, I will go without any fucking weed if I can't. If it's gonna cost me motherfucking like $200 a month to smoke weed and I can barely afford that shit, guess what? I ain't smoking no fucking weed until I make enough fucking money.
But you also said that's part of your. But you just said that's part of your celebration when you achieve something. When you look, I done paid off this loan. I done bought me a new car. I done completed a film. Yeah. I done completed a script. Yeah. Yes, that is part of your celebration. I'm like, man, I am babying myself. I am
self-care.
Yes, Cal gonna take me away. Yeah,
man. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, it feels good to unwind and be like,
but listen to what you're saying. That does not make you happy. That's part of your happiness. That's part of your happiness. But that does you're not. The reason that a lot of people use drugs the wrong way is because, say you're suffering from depression, say you're down, say you live in the ghetto, say you live out in the suburbs, say. People don't understand the suburbs and the ghetto are the exact same thing. And I'm going to explain this to you real quick. You live in the ghetto, all your money's going towards rent, and you have nothing for entertainment, nothing for relaxation. You live in the suburbs. It takes 2 checks to pay your mortgage. You guys are in the exact same situation. People need to understand that. Now, if you're sitting here, you're depressed, you're down, and you think back, when's the last time you had a good time, man? We had a party about 3 months ago, man. I kicked it. Now, the way my mind works is that party was so much fun because of the music and the fellowship of the people around me. I got to see my homeboys. Me and my wife went out and did some dancing.
Shit.
Yeah, I'm terrible at dancing, but she'll dance with me just because I'm shitty. But, when you have that, you have a good time. That's it. But that person thought about the drinking and the drugs is why they had a good time, not recognizing it was the circumstance they were in, the situation they was in made them have a good time, made them relax and forget their problems. They attribute it to, I got fucked up that night. That's what they're telling themselves. Oh, I got blitzed. That's what they're telling themselves. Like, man, I did a couple lines, man. Shit, I was at work the next day. That's what they're saying, and they're telling themselves that was the good time. The truth be told, the good time was the circumstance, the location, all that.
The company.
Yes, the company. It was 19 other things that was a factor in you having a good time and being relaxed.
Just that one point.
Yeah. Instead, you focus on the one point. So now what do you do? What do you think is going to make you happy? I'm going to run out and get me a joint. I'm going to go get me a fifth and drink and watch TV or go out.
See, that's the thing, though. It's like, okay, so as a ganja smoker, as a weed smoker, I will tell you, I have been over to like a million people's house, and we just sit on the couch smoking some weed. I'm like, dude, look outside, California. Look outside. Look at them fucking palm trees. Look at the motherfucking beach. Let's go outside and have some fucking fun. Let's go throw the football. Let's go fucking swimming. Let's go surfing. Let's go do some shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm talking about. It's like the weed is not the destination. It's just the gas station food on the way to the destination.
It's a vehicle to get there, and that's what people don't see it as. They see it as the actual objective and not part of the journey. And when you do that, it's easy to become what we're saying is very easy to become addicted. It's very easy to be controlled by something outside yourself. If Bible, idolatry, worshiping idols, you are idol worship. When you worship your car, it's idol worship. You're looking for happiness outside of yourself. When you got to understand, happiness begins with inside yourself, and that's what I meant about the 90% spiritual. You have you're mostly spirit. If you're not feeding your spirit, it don't matter what you do for that 10% of that physical.
So earlier you mentioned part of your happiness is tied to the fact that you don't have a filter, and it takes people a long time to reach that point.
That comfort level, yeah.
But see, that's freedom. That's freedom, but you also know yourself. And because you know yourself, you're happy in your own skin. That's a big part of your happiness.
But that knowledge of self is something that people don't even talk about anymore. You always heard the Muslims, when we was in high school, Muslim, knowledge of self. But then if you ever sat down and started, when you sat down and started reading about Egyptology and started reading about their belief system and you had to have not before you could know God, before you could know the higher one, before you could know Ra, Elohim, before you could know any of that, you must know who you are first, because he's inside you. But they're inside you. So when you know yourself, then you start to know that individual better, that entity, and then you can understand, like, okay, he's going to protect. How many times have we been shot at? How many times have we been in some fucked up situations? Yeah. And we were just talking about Harriet Tubman. We were just talking about when we were talking about who made it through. Like, how do these people survive? How is it possible with the stuff they went through that they survived? And then when you realize, like, oh, that's divine, and you got to give acknowledgement to the divine. And when you do that, then all of a sudden you have the same responses that you have as if you were using a drug. We were built to worship. We were designed for that. The whole problem is that people have corrupted our spirituality systems. You always hear them say it's not religion, it's a relationship. Religion is a tool to reach a higher form of spirituality. And when I say that, it's real simple. When a baby's born, you don't give it steak, you give it baby food, because it can't chew that up. But that's how religion is. Religion gives you a way to interface with God. Then after that, you elevate from that religion and go to a higher form of spirituality, because then it gave you the relationship with the higher, and you understand that entity better, how they interact with you and what they want from you and what they expect of you.
One of my gifts is communication. And we're talking about a filter specifically right now as its relation to happiness. When I filter myself too much, I feel like I'm playing myself. And what I mean by that is,
man, your stomach gets a knot. Your heart actually changes beat.
I'm not being the most realistic version of myself.
You're lying.
Not lying. I'm just, I'll use a metaphor. I have the volume turned down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I noticed that, like, throughout time on different jobs, as like starting from like a paper route all the way up until adult life, like this filter started like just dissolve slowly. And like I began to like just speak, truth to the things that I saw around me, and just being straight up real and calling shit exactly the way it is. And I found that the people around me, white people,
black people,
jobs,
foreign people,
they would like respect that shit because like I wasn't beating around the bush. I'm like, that motherfucker right there is about to walk off the job. Watch, you know what I'm saying? And like 2 minutes later, this shit fucking happened. But my point is like removing the filter,
the body language,
and talking straight to. I mean, it's like working for shitheads, working for shithead bosses. We've all done it, right? But how many times do you say what you really want to say to that fucking person? Now, there's ways of saying what you really want to say. That's diplomacy.
Yeah.
Right?
See, your mama tells you it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
How you say
and
it.
if you say it right, they'll even say thank you. Hey, your breath smell.
Right.
No, you need to brush your tongue.
But
thank you.
And you can do that and still not play yourself and be true to yourself. Because that's happiness, is being true to myself in everything that I do. Man, there have been occasions when I've made decisions and I felt like I wasn't true to myself.
Look, if you're honest, you ain't got to remember what the fuck you said. When people come to me, hey, you remember when you said this? Like, no, I don't remember. But I'm not even worried about what you're going to say next. Now, there was a time, but I was like, man, what the fuck did I say?
Like, carry the five.
Something I learned about power. And power. First things first, we always talk about sex, but something I learned about power is when you say something powerful, people remember that shit for a long time. So this is the Facebook generation. This chick hit me up on Facebook. It's like 7-8 years ago. She hits me up on Facebook. And she starts talking to me. We went to high school together, but we really weren't friends in high school. When we went to Upper Bound together, we started becoming friends. That was in the summer. And she said, I remember what you said to me. I said, oh shit. She said, you said the reason you like light-skinned women is, I'm like, and I knew what she's going to say next. You said it was like, look at when you hit it from the back and you think about the Reese's peanut butter commercial. You put your chocolate on my peanut butter. You put your peanut butter on my chocolate. And I'm like, oh my God. That was actually
silly.
But I said it in the high school.
That sounds like some bullshit you was saying.
Yeah, because you know I'm not lying. I'm like, I was skinny back then. I'm hitting the ass with a bat. And I'm sitting there like, oh my God. But it was so powerful that she couldn't wait 20 years later to tell me like, hey, you remember that time you said this? And I'm like,
she had a time capsule. She's like, I'm here from the past. I want to open this and give it to you.
Like, on the side of the building when they put the time capsule, and when they tear the building down, they look what's inside it.
Yes.
It's sunglasses and a book, And
there's the sayings of my peanut butter and chocolate. What the fuck? Who said this?
Yes. The whole point being is that also part of my happiness is influencing other people, having a positive effect on other people. I'm a half-assed comedy writer. I write, I tell jokes, I write, I deal with my kids. When you say something that makes an impact, teaching is one of those things, and not so much a teacher, because that shit don't pay enough, but I was a Sunday school teacher for a long time. And when you did that, if somebody had that aha moment, when they got how this applied to them or how it made sense or how it was supposed to be, and like, oh, I get that much better. And that's what you look for. Same thing when you said you want a job. People respect you because they know I can take the words you say and that shit's solid. Like some people ain't solid. We talked about it before. Some people, their word is rock hard. Other people, their word is ice. It seems solid. 15 minutes later, that shit is liquid. It's crumbling, yeah. And when people know that if I say you ugly, motherfucker, hey, shit, you ugly. If I say that you're a genius, then you should like, hey, I really respect you. You should know that your intelligence matters. And people they don't get that from everybody. But that's what makes me happy is having a positive effect on people. And people don't have that anymore. People want to have a negative effect on people. People want to make people feel bad because they think that makes them feel better. It doesn't make them feel better. It makes them feel equal. That's what that is. That's a completely different thing. What you're doing is you're trying to equal yourself by letting out your anger, your aggression, the dirty shit inside you.
Venting.
Yeah, you're venting, but you're making that person feel bad. Now you feel better.
You're projecting onto that person.
Yeah, we've done that in relationships. I get it, but what I'm saying is that that's not cool. That's not respect. That's not love. That's not something that you should be proud of, or you can pass on to your children, or any of that shit. So until you recognize that happiness is obtainable, happiness is something that you can control, but you got to control yourself, and people ain't controlling themselves.
I am now an adult man, and I've lost both my parents. And in losing my parents, I have become even more enlightened than I thought I was before. And the happiness that I have experienced in their passing relates to knowing that I will see them again, even though they are now with my ancestors. It's moments like that of stillness and solitude. I can reflect on the happiness and the love that I was given by my mother and the wisdom and strength I got from my father. And because of that, I can replay these moments in my mind. I can go back to these moments and relive them, as I did as a child, but now as a man, and feel gratitude, which ties to my happiness for being raised by these beautiful people in such a way. And it makes me happy, makes me really happy, but it's tied to my spirituality. And coming from a spiritual standpoint, this part of my happiness also allows me to see a beautiful sunset or a tree in autumn shedding its leaves and be moved by God's creation, by the natural beauty of it. And that makes me happy. And that is not just maturity. That's something that's been with me for a long time. And it's part of the way we were brought up.
Yeah, I told you, love makes a big difference. We were broke, and
but we were happy.
Yeah, for me, I had one parent. Father was gone, didn't pay child support ever. But I got what I wanted because I knew I could get it. I could get it. If my mother couldn't, I could work and get it. And another thing, this ain't no 50 Cent. I was selling drugs. I was doing this. Nah, man, I didn't have to do all that. I hustled. I still hustle to this day. But it was an objective. And that's what we talk about whenever I tell you success is a moving target. What I mean by that is what worked in the past may not work in the future. So sometimes you got to recognize, okay, this did make me happy, but I got to kind of tweak it a little bit. I had a goal, couldn't quite meet my goal, something happened, but I did this. And then I recognize, okay, I have to work harder at this, or I need to curtail this. Sometimes people don't talk to themselves. When you think, it's an active conversation in your mind. You're analyzing information, and then people don't analyze anymore. They just react. They're just reacting, and I'm like, nah. You need to analyze. Like, okay, how can this affect me? Okay, where do I need to go from this? Yeah. And I talked to my daughter about fighting. I got a bunch of daughters. I was talking to them about fighting, and one of them I said, look, what I did was I was talking to her about fighting like this, and she's like, well, what if I get beat up? What about this? I'm like, sometimes it's the fight is the objective. I don't worry about what happens. When I bounced at the club, I fought people bigger than me. I'm just worried about I have to do what I'm supposed to do. The outcome will take care of itself. Whether I lose or win, it's what's meant to be. And so I sent her that Ruiz Joshua fight where the little fat guy, the big dude's lumping him up, but all of a sudden the fat guy beat the shit out of him. I'm like, the reason you have a fight is to find out the outcome, but also if you do what you're supposed to do, that's all you can control, is what you're supposed to control, what you have to offer. And, part of it was, she's been having problems with some of her friends, and I explained to her, like, look, some of them people ain't your friends, and some of the people, they want to see you fail more than you could ever imagine. I said, being from a black community, that people tend to be color struck. So in the beginning, they're your friend, but at some point in time, they become jealous of you, and they can't wait to talk shit about you to somebody else and say, see, she's not all that. She has good hair, but she ain't all that. She's light skinned, but she was messing with this person. And so I'm like, look, their friendship, first things first, they were happy that you were their friend. But then when they realize that you're just a person, they want to bring you down to their level. And I'm like, your looks don't matter. That's not how I raised you to be. I raised you to be a complete person. That all the things you get out of life ain't going to be based on your looks. It's a bonus. It's going to give you, sometimes it's going to give you a little credit when you be surprised, like, okay, they like me because I'm easy on the eyes. But the fact is this, your ability, your intelligence, how many books you read, all this other stuff you do, that's what's going to get you through.
So everything we've just talked about up to this point has been dealing from a visceral, on the ground viewpoint. And now, with everybody being so attached to social media.
Yes.
And they need to get their dopamine fix every 4.5 seconds staring at their fucking phone. We're in this world where people have a fake happiness, this facade. They have like an Instagram life or like a Twitter life or this Facebook life that they're putting out there of how they want the world to see they're happy, And then there's their real happy, which is like a soggy McDonald's Happy Meal happy. That's been like, sitting in the car for about 3 hours.
But see, that's the whole thing, is that the truth is my happiness is universal. No matter where I am or how you see me, I'm happy because I know I put myself there. What you got to understand is these people can't do the things that they think they can. They actually can't do them. They haven't applied themselves. So I'd rather show you this. Hey, I got J's. What's up? Now, it don't matter that I owe my cousin money. It don't matter that I haven't paid my rent yet. It don't matter that my kids smell. But I got J's on. Or, hey, look at this bitches. I got a Rolex on. It's not yours. That kind of thing. You're imitating celebrities. And people are in love with celebrity now. And they think that, well, if
idol worship.
We already said that. Idolatry. But they think that if I have the same things that celebrity has, that I'm going to have their happiness. But you haven't done the same thing that celebrity has done. You haven't done the work. And even if that celebrities got discovered and they got a little bit of talent, these people are all over the place singing, all over the place rapping.
That's work.
I saw some shit on Facebook, Lex Luthor. He said, I remember back in the day when people that couldn't rap didn't rap. You got a lot of people, like you got a lot of people rapping that ain't good at the shit. They garbage.
You talking about Dave? Yeah. That's some funny shit he said.
See, I didn't see. Yeah, you said it. I didn't say it.
You know who the fuck? Yeah.
And so that is the part that what people believe now is that I can do what they can do so I can be like them. But the fact is the matter, you need to recognize what you're strong at, what your strengths are, play to your strengths, figure out how to work them into something that can put you there. More importantly, that you always heard that money can't buy you happiness. Well, you're shopping at the wrong store. I'm like, if you got some money, you can find something to do. But the truth of the matter is you guys are worshiping the wealth. You're worshiping the celebrity and the fame. And you think that if I got more money, I got more stuff. But the fact is that's baggage. That goes back to what you were saying about having baggage. I got a friend that we grew up with, and he's having problems with his wife. He's telling me about this. He's telling me about that, and I'm like, look, dude, I said, man, why does your old lady wear so much makeup? Man, she's fucking beautiful. Does she know that? He's like, man, I be trying to tell my wife she's beautiful.
That kills me, man. Like these women that listen, they have what I call off the pillow beauty.
Yes,
meaning when you wake up in the morning, you looking good. Yeah. You ain't got to dress that shit up. You fine already.
Yes, you look good.
And then they put all that shit on top of it.
Some of that shit's cultural. Like, for Hispanic women, they wear makeup no matter what. And I'm like, dude, you are freaking beautiful. Why'd you shave your eyebrows off?
Oh, that's the one that's scary as fuck. Like, when they got them drawn on eyebrows. Yeah. Like, look, you see the bone right here, and it's like way up here, like halfway through their forehead and shit.
I'm like, dude. So what I'm saying, like we're saying, is the fact that, my homeboy's dealing with his wife. And one of the things that she was complaining about is his drinking. She complains about this, she complains about that. And I'm saying, well, look, do you ever talk to her about some of the stuff she needs to work on? And he's like, well, this, and this. I said, look, tell the truth. The truth is that your problem is so glaring that it's very hard for you to talk about hers. And one of her problems is her lack of self-esteem and here's the crazy part. You have people who are narcissists, but they don't think they're pretty. How can you be so like,
that don't work.
It shouldn't, but it does. Cause check it out. They're like me, but
don't look at me.
Oh, I don't feel like I'm beautiful. I don't know. No, it's me. But I don't know how can anybody stare at me? I'm hideous. But you better look at me. And so you have a narcissist and a person with low self-esteem occupying the same body. And you would think that doesn't work, but it does all the time. And the fact is that they make a lot of decisions they shouldn't make, or they're competing with their family members. And by doing that, they're like, hey, we're equal to them, but you can't. Your credit score ain't as high as theirs. Your brother married a white chick. She got a good job. Your sister, well, she got 3 husbands in the same house. I'm not making this up. And so, no, I'm really not making that up. And so when you got 4 adults in one house, yeah, you got more money. So what it is that you're competing with these people. And if you fall short or you can't brag, you have nothing to brag about, then all of a sudden, oh man, I'm gonna beat up on my significant other mentally.
Or motherfuckers kill themselves.
I don't get that, and I think that, okay, First things first. Me and you had a very personal conversation one time about suicide. We were talking about. I said the only person I ever understood committing suicide was Robin Williams.
Please don't say her name.
Who?
Don't say the name.
No, I'm not.
Don't say her last name, please.
Okay, so comedian. I was talking about a comedian.
Okay, but there's another one that we know, but she died.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
We're talking about the comedian Robin Williams, and I was like, people were talking about the cancer and that he killed himself because he had cancer. He couldn't be his family. This. I'm like, nah, man, that's not it. If you sit there and look at who his peers, who is
dead, his homies are gone.
His peers are all gone. There's no one on the Richard Pryor is gone. You name it was like Sandra Bernhardt, all the people John Candy, all the people he worked with, all the people he came up with, all the people that were his equal,
John Belushi,
were all gone. And I'm like, man, can you imagine living in a world absolutely by yourself like that? And I'm not saying it was okay what he did. I'm saying that that's the only person I probably can sit here and say, man, I understand why he committed suicide. I get that. And look, I remember when my great aunt died. She was 104, and we went to her church, and there were the people that remembered her were 30 years younger. There were people that remembered her from their childhood, like, yeah, Mama Essie was in the church, and no one else. There were 7 people that were still alive knew her, but everybody around her has died. The only person that was left was her baby brother. But all her other siblings are gone. Of course, her parents are gone. But being 104, it's like that. Her husband's been gone for years. My Uncle Jeff had been gone for years, and so. But she never, her biggest thing in life, she had got letters from a couple of different presidents, but she's like, I live to see a black president. I'm good. Y'all can't tell me shit. She's like, and
that meant a lot to her.
Yeah, she's like, y'all can't tell me nothing. I'm cool. Yeah, my life is complete. And that's one of the things that I'm like, okay. One of the most proudest things was my Aunt Essie. She raised me. She a lot of raising me. So when
that made her happy though.
But what you understand is she taught me how to be happy. Mm-hmm. When she lived on her own until she was 100 years old. She was 101 when somebody started living with her, taking care of her, and she could remember everything. She was mean to everybody else. She loved me. I remember one time I had cut my hand on this barbed wire, and I was bleeding everywhere. She's like, "Oh my God!" She thought I had got shot or something. I just remember her freaking out and. I got all my country stories are like that. And so I understood happiness. I understood that she only had one child. Her child was from a rape. But she loved Floyd. So when you understand.
That's Floyd's mom?
No, this is a different Floyd. This is my great uncle Floyd. This is my big cousin Floyd. Floyd had got me my second dog. When I was a kid, I had a couple German Shepherds. But then we moved to Tennessee, and they ran. I didn't have them anymore. So when I get to Tennessee, he goes to the pound and gets me a white German Shepherd. And yeah, so that man was a product of a rape, but it didn't change who the fuck he was. It never dictated his identity. My conversation, he would tease me. He was like a bully to me, but he loved me to death. And like I remember, he is Lana, my cousin Lana's father. And so when you recognize okay, I knew how to be happy. Mm-hmm. I had this great childhood. Like I said, when I compare my childhood to somebody from the suburbs, I had the exact same problems they did. And like I told you, when this girl was telling her story in class and was crying, and I couldn't understand, that's because I'm like, man, shit, I'm happy. I learned my shit. I know how to deal with my shit. I was taught that can't nobody put their hands on you, you whoop their ass. Nobody can talk to you anyway. I was raised to be a man. I was never raised to be anything but who I am now. So when you recognize yourself as an adult, if you're a woman, when you're raised to be a woman, hey, you got responsibility, you got to take care of, and that sometimes that you can stop that man from doing dumb shit, or you can build that man up. I'll be the first to tell you, if I got married sooner, especially if I married the right person, I'd be a millionaire right now, because that support is amazing. And it's not just happiness, it's well-being. It's like, oh man,
that support is really important.
Yeah, I can deal with her. I mean, I can rely on her, and she can rely on me. Mm-hmm. And that's something else that I saw down south a lot, was that the women down south always had 2 and 3 jobs. Mm-hmm. And my mom always had 2 and 3 jobs. Mm-hmm. My wife I'm with now, she has 1 job, but when we got together, she had 3 jobs. Mm-hmm. Now, only one of my exes ever had 3 jobs. Yeah. That was a school teacher. And it was kind of crazy because, some other women you would date, hey, you think you should get another job? No. And I was like, well, goddamn, you Cosby Show watching motherfucker. You ain't Cliff Huxtable. You ain't Felicia Rashad. Right. You can't exist on one job, so you need to have more than one job.
So, in closing, it appears that happiness is tied to perception,
yes,
maturity,
yes,
knowing oneself,
understanding, yes,
yeah, because as you age, as you live, the constants they remain, but your perception of what happiness changes, and it becomes more informed by your life experiences, be they good or bad.
But also, you realizing whether you found it or not is something else that changes too.
Indeed.
The deepest thing you said was, I'm a good communicator, but that communication also extends to yourself. When you communicate with yourself, that's how you discover what makes you happy and how to obtain it.
And being true to yourself.
Whoever that is.
Yeah, but that's up to you, whoever the fuck that is. But be true to yourself, because in my opinion, that is the start of happiness, is being true to yourself.
100%, yeah.